My name is John Stevens. I'd like to welcome you to the crew room of the Pan Am Railways. This video is a little different than all the others you're going to be seeing during the pilgrimage because I don't have a completed layout. This is very much a layout under construction. For those of you who have been here before, the layout has moved. I still own the same property I did before, but the layout used to be in the attic of an outbuilding and it's now in the basement of my house. So I'm going to show you the new space that I have. I've changed prototypes. I'm going to explain to you how I came up with the new prototype choice. Give you a tour of what I've built already. Talk to you a little bit about how I built my Benchwork and describe to you a little bit about my Helix. So I hope you enjoy the video. I first had my layout on the Piedmont Pilgrimage in 2013. The layout was based on the CSX Manchester subdivision and had an element of the Georgia Northeastern Railroad doing switching operations here in the Tyrone area. Layout was located in the second floor of this building. You can see the window directly above the center door, and that's the window that was in the layout room. In 2015, we built this one-story addition to the back of the house. It has a full basement in it. The addition's about 12 by 36. Because of the full basement, we did have to cut through the old foundation in order to provide access to that area. That was a better choice than actually putting in a set of stairs. Now we can use the old set of stairs to access the full basement. So now this is the entrance to the house. There on the left-hand side, you can see the windows and the single doorway. That's the entrance directly into the crew room, and we'll talk about the rest of the layout here in just a moment. This is a drawing showing the workspace that I have to work with. If you look on the lower left-hand corner, you can see the crew room and the entry door that I showed you in the last picture. Just above that is the workroom, and then a hallway which leads to the bathroom. Just outside the crew room is the south room. That's approximately 250 square feet, and just on the other side of that is the north room, and that's about 400 square feet. Giving me a grand total of about 650 square feet of layout space. During our discussion about building the addition, my wife stated that if I built a layout or planned a layout of an area that had seasons, then I could move my modeling into the basement. So I looked around quite a bit, and I finally decided that I would model something that I really knew relatively well. This is a model railroader, December 1988. It talks about the Boston and Maine snow train, which ran from Boston up to Dover, New Hampshire, and then picked up the Conway branch and headed north all the way up to North Conway. Turns out that I was raised just north of the Boston area. I never rode the snow train, but for 3 winters, my church group, about 2 or 3 times a year, would go up to North Conway, and that's actually where I learned to snow ski, was in one of the mountains in North Conway. So I decided this would be a good modeling project, and I started investigating exactly what it was that I was going to model. As I stated at the beginning of this video, the name of my model railroad is the Pan Am Railways Crawford Notch Branch. Now, many of you know that I have an aviation background, and you probably think I'm just making up a name as the Pan Am Railways. Well, it turns out that Pan Am Railways is an actual railroad up in the New England area. It contains portions of the old Boston and Maine Railroad and the Maine Central Railroad. As you can see, this is a map of the Maine Central Railroad. All the lines in red are trackage for the Main Central, and then down in the southwest corner of this map is where the Boston and Maine trackage is. Now I'm modeling, you can see the dark black line there, I'm modeling from Portland, Maine down to a town called Dover, New Hampshire, to pick up the Conway branch up to Conway, New Hampshire, and then I'll pick up a portion of the Main Central Mountain Division, which is that red line across the middle of the page. Just north of Portland, I will have a off layout storage area, and my trackage down to Boston will also contain some off layout storage area. As I stated earlier, I did have some knowledge of the Conway Scenic Railroad. This is a picture of the freight house up at the Scenic Railroad. It was built in the 1870s. If you notice to the left of the picture, there's a red caboose. This caboose belongs to the model railroad that is located in the freight house. The last two windows there near the caboose are part of the layout room, and they use the caboose for meeting space. For about 4 years, I volunteered as a docent in the model railroad room. The Conway Scenic has a turntable. It's an air-powered turntable using the air system of the locomotives. 4-stall roundhouse, and off to the left there you can see a passenger car. That was actually used by the Boston and Maine Railroad as a crew quarters for the crew that switched along the northern portion of the Conway branch. And they have a depot. This depot was built in the 1870s, and it's, as you can see, very ornate, well kept up depot. There are some portions of the railroad, especially on the mountain division, that definitely need to be modeled. This is one of them. This is a Frankenstein trestle, and no, it's not named after Dr. Frankenstein. It's named by or after somebody who had something to do with the land in the area where the trestle is. The trestle is about 500 feet long and about 90 feet high. And as you can see, they get a little color up in the area. And this is one of the stipulations of building the layout down in the basement, and so this is part of what I'm trying to model. Another important aspect of the railroad is Willybrook Bridge, and here is a picture with some color. I took this last fall. And beyond Willybrook Bridge is Mount Willard. It's about 1,500 feet from where the track is. You can see the track is located right in this area of the mountain, and it's about 1,500 feet from the track up to the top of Mount Willard. And if you look over there in the towards the right-hand corner, just above the nose of the locomotive, you'll see a white area. That's actually US 302, which runs up through the middle of Crawford Notch. Now, a lot of you probably aren't familiar with the term notch. It's really a New England term. It's equivalent to a pass. I can't explain to you why they call it notches. They just do. And here's a look back down the notch. There's US 302 again. If you look along this portion here, if you follow the mouse, you can see in the trees there, you can see a line where the railroad goes. This portion of the notch has about 18.5 miles of 2.25% grade. Back in the steam area, it did require steam helper service, and in the diesel area, they quite often ran trains with 4 or 5 locomotives to get up the notch and come back down the notch. And at the top of the notch is this depot. There was a very large hotel there until about 1975 when it burned down. But you can see a very colorful area in the fall. When you enter the south room of the layout, the first thing you see is a Helix. The Helix climbs approximately 17 inches. The inside radius of the inside track is 29 inches. It's about a 2.5% grade. I plan on using this for my downhill track. And the outside radius is 33 inches. And that gives me about a 2.25% grade. When I started building, this room was completed. The walls were all done and the drop ceiling was in. The north room was not. I initially, after I retired in June of 2018, I finished up that room and started construction in November of 2018. Since then, I've built about 210 feet of benchwork, and I have about 90 feet to go. I've laid about 500 feet of a Pico Code 83, and I've laid about 85 turnouts. I'm also using a Midwest Industries cork roadbed and Midwest Industries cork sheet, which I use in the yards. And my control system is a Digitrax DCC. So you come around the corner and you're faced with 3 levels of track. In the south room, the layout is 3 levels high. The first level is at about 43 inches, the second's at 60, and the third is at 77 inches. You can see I do have a walk under. It's about 75 inches, so most people can clearly walk underneath it without hitting their heads. Come around the corner, you get a better view of the 3 levels. The bottom is open grid, and the upper 2 sections are just held up by brackets that I've mounted on the wall. Come into the layout room. There's Portland, Maine there on the right. Come around the corner, and you can see Boston is back in behind the walls there. And you can look further down the wall, and you can see the remainder of the layout. As I stated earlier, I built about 210 feet of benchwork. On the first level, everything's really just a bunch of tables. As you can see here by this sawmill section, there's a line. That's the edge of this section. It goes all the way to the end of the wall. That's 8 feet long. It's 30 inches deep. It has adjustable legs with a brace across the middle of them. So I said the legs are adjustable. The legs are made out of 2x2s. I drilled a hole in the bottom of each leg. Took a T-nut, and you just take the T-nut and you hammer it in place. And then when you're ready, you take a carriage bolt. I use carriage bolts because I have a round head, and they have the adjustable nut on them. And that makes it much easier to adjust them. I also take and use T-nuts to hold the sections together. As you can see, the left board has a T-nut in it, and the right side has a bolt. I use a regular bolt to hold the sections together, as you can see. The upper section is made out of 1/2-inch plywood, and it is supported by brackets. Here's a picture of one of the brackets. You notice I painted the wood in this area. Originally I didn't start to, but The wood was all salvage, and it had come from my previous layout, and a lot of that had been used in the layout before that. So it was all getting pretty well worn, and so I just decided to paint it all to give it a more uniform look to it. You can see the bracket there in the middle. These are from Home Depot, and they were originally white. I thought they stood out too much, so I spray painted everything flat black. You can see here the blockage I use in the front there. This is just the 1x4 scrap that I cut up to size and drill holes in. The front blocks separate the wire from the plywood a little bit so I can get in there and do my soldering and everything for my feeders. And if you look up along the back wall, you can see there's two other blocks, and this is how I secure the plywood to the layout. You can see the screws there. They screw the block in sideways, and then you come up underneath with a screw to hold the top down. That's the way I secure both the second and third level, and the first level is also secured that way to the tables that I showed you earlier. So here's the Helix. Who ever thought I'd have a layout with a Helix on it? This was really kind of scary. Initially, I really had no idea how I was going to do this. There are a couple of ways. One is to cut out the curve using plywood and supporting it by blocks, and I didn't really like that, and I kind of stumbled onto this rod method. These are 3/8 inch rods. I bought them in 36-inch lengths and cut them in half. And what you do is you use a 1/4-inch Luan and you glue it together, making a half circle. You make an octagon out of it basically, except you don't connect the ends because you have it climbing all the way to the top. So I ended up choosing that method. I cut 64 of these. I would definitely recommend a sliding compound miter saw. Even then, you don't get them perfectly because they need to be, the angle needs to be 22.5 degrees on each of these. But you get it close enough, and then you take, and this thing is actually one level of the Helix, but it's two octagons offset. And they're just glued together. I used liquid nail projects, and I built mine in half of an octagon rather than making it a complete octagon, because I watched some videos and some guys were building the whole Helix and then trying to install the track after it was all built, and I just saw a lot of problems with that. So I decided that I was going to build mine in half sections, and then I would lay the cork and the track in this section, and then I'd connect it up to the next section, and I'd work my way around the Helix. So if you look around this section, you can see holes drilled in it. After I had all 64 pieces all glued up, I stacked them up on the layout, and I drilled all the way through the stack and all the way through the top of the layout itself. And then I installed T-nuts, my favorite mechanical device, here on the bottom of the layout. You can see the 3/8 inch rod sticking out through the T-nut. I went right above the top of the layout and ran a nut down washer and a nut down, and I tightened it all up, and I had all 16 rods just standing there waiting for me to start stacking up the Helix. So if you look at this picture, you can see there's a bottom nut here. This is the top of the table that I talked about earlier. And then I have a nut and a washer and a washer and a nut. There were some people that said, you don't need that washer in there, but the Luan is kind of soft. And so I decided to put a washer there just so that the nut wouldn't bite into it. And so I took the first quarter or the first half of the octagon and I slid it all down over all the rods, and then I went around and I made my first, the beginning of the slope, and I stabilized it using the nut on the top and the bottom of that segment. And then I put down my cork, put down my track, and then I took another piece. As you can see, each section has got a nut and a washer holding it in place. And when I got to the very top, good safety tip, because I can show you the scars I got from rubbing up against those rods after I'd cut them. I would suggest you put these cap nuts on top of each of the rods. And one of the issues I had was making sure that the slope remained the same all the way around. So I cut up these 2x2s and I put a screw there in the top of them, and then you can slide it up underneath, or you actually put it on top of the lower level, and the top of the screw balances against the bottom of the level above it, and it makes your slope remain pretty constant all the way up the helix. So I ended up with a helix that climbs just over 17 inches. And as I stated previously, I think my grade on the inbound or the inner track is 2.5 inches and the outer is 2.25 inches. And both of those are workable. The 2 1/4 will be my climb, and the 2 1/2 is my descent. And since I'm going to be double heading everything, and of course our locomotives are way overpowered, I don't see any issue with this being a workable solution. Now you'll see here that you see the white wire there. I decided to put the wire on the outside rather than having it up inside the helix. That way, if I had to work on it, it's readily available. You can see here's the feeder that comes off the helix, and I haven't soldered in place yet, but I'll just connect that on the outside. Well, that concludes my video. I hope you found it informative, and I look forward to seeing you again next year, hopefully in person, for the 2021 Piedmont Pilgrimage.